What's going on, everybody? It is Thee Willie Ashford from the Black Culture Podcast. I know you're ready to get into this interview, but before you do,
make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Apple, Google, and Spotify at the Black Culture Podcast. And
also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Black Culture Podcast. Peace. Man, we are the Black Culture Podcast. I am Thee Willie Ashford. That's my man Price over there. How you doing, man?
Bro, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I am blessed, man. Listen, we have, you know what, man? We've never had an actual radio show on the podcast.
First time. And it's also, August is National Black-Owned Business Month. So, which makes it right. You guys are our first interview of the month of August. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go ahead and get into that. But right now, we want to start it off with the man that's in charge of the Fixx Radio Show, DeAndre Terrell, aka DJ Focus. Man, how are you?
All is well, man. Appreciate y'all having us on the platform. And listen, God is in control of it. It ain't me in control of it. God is in control.
And I want to introduce his right hand man. He said his co-host, brother Rico Spencer. I don't even want to call you Rico Suave.
Hey, it's actually a name, man. My name is Rico. Suave is what they call me in college. It's stuck with me.
So we got to get into that real quick. How did you get to
That's a good way to start. Yeah, go ahead.
Y'all funny
actually,
too.
that is funny. So as a kid, I always dressed up. My dad always taught me like to wear a suit, dress to impress. And that's just how I always dressed. So once I got to high school and college, I built up like confidence in such a way that whatever clothes I had on, that's how I act. So if I had on a shirt and tie, yep, I was like money at that moment. And girls thought it was the nice thing. It was like, I got this nice hair, nice brown eyes, and he can dress to the nine. It was like, oh yeah, he's all suave out here. And then they found out my name was Ricardo. It was like, oh, so you really are Rico Suave. So it just stuck. And I've been known as Rico Suave since college. On the basketball court, it was always Rico Suave. Even in my professional job, it's Rico Suave. So,
man, it's funny because growing up, we didn't say Suave, we just said Suave. You know?
Yeah.
So you had to put the A on there.
Yeah.
Rico Suave. But nah, man, that's cool, bro. I like that.
Yeah. Thank you.
And you earned the name, man. Some people just give themselves nicknames, man. I can't get down with someone that gives themselves a nickname like that. Like you earned that one, man. I can feel it, man.
Hey, I wish I could have gave myself the nickname and been good, but no, I wasn't T.I. out here calling myself the king. No, it was just a nickname given to me by different people, so I just kept it.
So DJ Focus, I want to start with you. I was talking to Price earlier and I was like, man, you know, like how with streaming and with, you could just pick up your phone and you can listen to anything. And I was wondering the state of radio, and I wanted you to break that down to me, like with streaming, with Apple Music and all that. Like, I know I haven't listened to the, unless I'm listening to like a game, even then you can still stream that. But I want to know, like, not only how did the pandemic affect you guys, if it did, but how does, like, with streaming service and the way you download things like that, how does that affect like the way people listen to the radio, like affect ratings or anything, if it does affect it?
So for us, and Suave can hop in on this too as well, we laugh at it. We started about 6 years ago. And the first thing we did, we were not on terrestrial when we first jumped out. We were on an online radio show. So everything we did was streaming off a Caster FM or some type of streaming platform. And everybody laughed like, no one's going to listen to y'all on an online platform. No one listens to online platform. And the pandemic came last year, and me and Suave and Tierra, we laugh at it because we had already built up a base of listening to us online. So when everybody went podcast all of a sudden, we like, oh, we had to call some names out. Like, I thought nobody listens to online, you know what I'm saying, content anymore. So for us, it helped us. We've always been online, and of course we've had the blessing to be on the FM dials too as well, to be on the terrestrial dials. But it's always helped us. Our numbers have stayed consistent. They stayed constantly growing just because of the content and everything we have going on in our show. So yeah, it's been a 6-year grind for us online. So this is all we know. Real talk.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it ties into basically my background in radio. I knew what streaming at the time was picking up. I worked for one of the biggest stations here in Cleveland, 107.9, and at the time we were just starting to develop our app. So I knew streaming was going to become important. Like eventually, like on air will die down and you'll have to listen online. So I figured if we adjust to that now, we can jump ahead of the curve, and lo and behold, we actually start working smoothly. We got YouTube built up. We was on not only on other streaming apps, but we actually had other stations grow because of our background. So the original station we start off with was actually dark and distant until we got on it. And then once we left, it was kind of like back down to where it is because they didn't want to follow the trend that we had created. So most of the times it's basically like what we try to plan ahead of time, knowing what was going on. But I just used the background and the stats I already knew about to apply it to what we already got.
I want to ask you that like really fast because I know Price want to jump in, but like, how do you like being in that business? How do you know what's up and coming, and how do you know like how to stay ahead of the curve? Because a lot of people don't know how to do that. Like you say, you knew eventually that's the route it was going to go, and lo and behold, 6 years later, you guys are already way out ahead of the curve. Like, how do you get in a position to know like, okay, this is a train that's coming. Let's start preparing for it now. So when it does happen, we're already into it.
That happened based off numbers, man. Like, to be honest, I started off on the show as just doing numbers. I was a person that will always call in with different stats and numbers to actually get ahead of something. Like, no, if we do this or this is at this percentage, I just basically followed the curve. And I'm like, all right, if online is going up now, the numbers will jump up drastically by a certain time. Let's try to do it ahead of time. And I was a national sales rep at the time. So working for national companies, I was big into marketing. So I just happened to just take some of the trends that I knew, place it into our radio platform, and knew like, well, churches are starting to go online now. Radio stations, even news stations are streaming online. Like, yo, we have to get online to start off. So eventually when stuff die down, we are already creating a wave about it. And that's mainly where it came from, just the numbers.
And the beautiful thing about that, just to add to that, we were one of the first like big radio shows to do the Facebook live from the studios. Like I say, 6 years ago, you know, it's a thing of the past now, but 6 years ago, people weren't doing live streams. So we started doing the Facebook and the Instagram lives. And like Suave said, man, we did one interview, man. We had about 30,000 people on it, man. And we just like going Facebook live, you know, definitely had a great interview on the line and some good content to talk about. So yeah, it was just like, listen, he is the number guy. So I will tell you, he's the number guy. He worries about that. I give all the credit to God. We have stayed consistent in doing what God has told us what to do. This whole show is built around kingdom principles and really getting the message of God through music, through these conversations that we have. Like, it's all God driven. So I give all glory to God. Seriously.
And that's one thing that we always harp on here on the Black Culture Podcast is we make sure whatever we do, we follow God before we ask God first and then proceed to the plan. And things have really started to pick up for us. So I got a question. Either one of you can ask this or you can tag team me because a lot of people don't know the difference, but I try to tell people all the time, there is a difference between radio and podcasting.
Yes, it is.
Very much.
Could you break that down?
I can actually break it down. Podcast is more so a talk, and you're not gonna want to talk for no whole hours, like 45 minutes tops per episode. You talk about different topics, but no music. You got to get different licenses for music and all that. And then with a radio show, it's more so licensing for music. You can discuss topics like what you hear on air, but at the same time, like it's fueled and funneled by ads. So the reason you hear a lot of commercials on the radio is because like they the ones who pay the bills. Like we need these ads to run so we can get bills going. Podcasts don't really need that as much.
People
They
think
can
that's
take
just
it.
the same way. Like, all right, we gotta pay
Yeah.
bills, we pay back. Like, no, that's
nah.
not a saying. Like, that's
a real
talk.
thing.
That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Because if like with me, when I worked at the radio station, if a customer's ad didn't run as scheduled, oh, they gonna want their money back. Like, yeah, I paid you $700 for these commercials to run this many times in this hour, and I only got 6 commercials out of the 12. Like, nah, you're gonna have to pay me that other 50% that I paid you. So like, yeah, that's the biggest thing, is knowing that it's music with radio and music and ads mainly. And then podcasts, really, you don't need it as much. You can literally like plug up your phone and start a podcast. But it takes a lot of work to grow it. Yeah. Just like a radio station. It takes a lot of work. But the main difference is podcast, there's no music, and radio, you have to go through a lot of loops and a whole bunch of paperwork just to even get a license for music. Because now these artists got to get paid. You can't just go playing their music randomly. So that's the main difference. Copyright issues, folks. Copyright issues. Avoid them.
So I'm curious as to how y'all got started, because I know I was reading through your bios, and you all have pretty diverse origins, right?
Yeah.
So, and I know she's not with us, but Tierra actually met maybe about 3 years ago in LA. When I was out there, I used to co-manage a band from here, but they went out there for NAMM. So I'm just curious how y'all came together and got this show started.
So me and Suave are actually cousins. A lot of people don't know that, but me and Suave are actually cousins.
Blood too.
So yeah, so we've been family. How the Fixx pretty much started. It was birthed out of me pretty much changing my life. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like when I really converted my life over to God, I really wanted to start listening to more music that could help me. I come from the streets, so a lot of the music I listen to, for my OGs, my old school heads, a lot of gangster rap, a lot of UGK, 8-Ball, MJG, Too Short, and I keep going down the list. So when I finally turned my life around and I wanted to stop smoking weed, I wanted to stop drinking, and a whole lot of other stuff, I really had to get music in my spirit that would stop speaking to those things, because everything that I was doing, I had in my CD player, or I had in my iPad. So as I started studying my word more, I started realizing that a lot of this stuff was affecting my spirit. Now, for some of the listeners, it might not affect you the way it was affecting me. So I tell people, use discernment, because some people can just listen to, any kind of music and it doesn't affect them to that level. But for me, no, I was really doing a lot of the stuff that she was hearing in these lyrics. So for me, I wanted to change my life around. I'd always been a DJ for years. I was blessed with an opportunity to be the DJ for the skating rink at the church that I attend. So when I started doing that, of course, it was gospel nights DJing. This is when I got introduced into a lot of Christian hip hop artists. And I was like, I didn't even know it was a such thing. Like, I'm be honest with you. I listened to a lot of music for a long time, but I never knew like Christian hip hop was a thing. Besides Kirk Franklin, which that's who I considered was Christian hip hop, I didn't know anything about it. So as I got to diving into the music and sharing with Rico, and I started making mix CDs and start passing them out and selling them. And from that grew an opportunity where I met somebody who had a radio station and was looking for an on-air DJ to do Christian hip hop, a Christian hip hop show. And that's pretty much how it started. Rico, my cousin, already had 6-7 years, like he said, experience for working for Radio 1. So it was only natural for me to reach out, like, hey, cuz, like, I got an opportunity over here, man, but I need you to help me navigate through it, because I had never did radio at all. I'm perfect, like I say, totally new to me. So, you know, I always thank him, and I say he's always been my right-hand man and showed me how to navigate through the business, what to do, what not to do. And he'll tell you, we've fallen out plenty of times, you know, had hard conversations, because, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking it's supposed to go this way, but he knows the business side of it because he's been in it. So yeah, that's pretty much what it was birthed out of. It was birthed out of me starting to turn my life around, find there was a lot of artists out there that was actually dope and wasn't corny. And I'm like, wow. So, you know, we need to let more people know about it. Because when I was, like I say, 6-7 years ago, starting to listen to it, nobody really knew about Christian hip hop here in Cleveland, like at all. So it was like, okay, cool. And yeah, from there, that's pretty much what was birthed.
Yeah, and then
Our
plus,
relationship sound like me and Alex, because Alex is like the business one, and I'm like new to this, and I know a little bit about it. So we've like had some conversations too. So when you said, I was like, yeah, I can relate to that one, man.
No, so every business needs that, and that's why I think we have the perfect balance, because there's areas that I'm good at and there's areas that Suave's good at, and we balance each other. And even when we, like I say, we having little hard conversations about the situation, we still always come around. We still always come around. So yeah, I think that's the perfect balance. Go ahead, Suave. I know you're gonna add something to it.
no, I was gonna say, like, when it really started off with just two guys.
Yep.
I always wanted to be in the background.
Mhm.
And I was asking, hey, we need you on this show to actually like speak on the mic. And at that time, we was on Facebook Live, and I happened to be on Facebook, and they was like, bring him back next week. So I've been back since. But then we wanted a female perspective, like, although we can talk like guys and it'd be a sports talk or something, but we still need a woman's perspective, because we knew women were actually gravitate more to that because of the topics we were discussing. So we grabbed Tierra because we knew her. We knew she was very intelligent. We knew how she's like, she can speak very well. Like she's a poet.
And an educator.
And an educator. So we knew when we got her, we were gonna get a lot of people to actually participate in the topics. Then like she left for a little bit. We try to replace her with another female. A lot of issues happened in between those, and we like, yo, we know who we need. And I like searched Tierra down, like, hey, I need you to come back. Like, even until you come back, we will not put another female in place. And that we made sure that, like, we waited a whole year for her to come back. Like, all right, now we back. So like it took some filling out to do, but we just knew where we all were best at, and we knew not to add nobody or take anybody away from the core that is the Fixx.
Wow. So I want to know, since we now know that y'all are cousins, what it's like to work with family, because that don't always work out for the best. But y'all two have been successful at it, right? So can you kind of break down what that's like?
You know, for me, the reason for our success is we're truthful. We're 100% honest with each other. I think because we're real with each other, we can have hard conversations. And I can tell him, man, listen, I hear what you're saying, but I don't agree with it. And he'll tell me the same thing. And
he do that a lot too.
Yes, we do. and we might sit on it for a couple of days. We'll say, hey, let's revisit it in a couple of days then. Because right now, you know, we're going back and forth, and it's not good for business. We're trying to understand this thing together. Let's make sure we understand it. And we just endure through it. At least for me, like I say, I really am glad. And the funny thing about it is, I didn't even find out he was my cousin. We actually, my wife and I do marriage mentoring at our church, and he found his wife and was going through the premarital counseling with me and my wife, and then that's how we just got to talking. I'm like, your last name is? Yeah, my last name. Who's your grandfather? Okay, my grandfather's his brother. Okay, yeah, we cousins. So we've been hitting it off ever since. You know, I hate that I missed all the years we couldn't grow up together.
Hold on, wait, y'all working together before y'all found out y'all was cousins?
No, actually, it was a little bit before we started to show that I found out that we were cousins. So I've only known he's been my cousin for probably about 7 years now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. Our grandfathers were brothers, of course, which would make, his father and my mother were first cousins. And of course, we're the second cousins, lineage of it, however you want to put it.
Wow. Crazy.
Yes. Small world.
Yeah.
We actually got a reunion coming up soon, and we'll laugh at it because we'll see all of our cousins from Atlanta, Georgia, and everything. We have a big family on our grandfather's side, and we have a real large family. So it's like that's how we didn't even know we were cousins. But we have been attending the same church for a few years, and I did know him because we attended different things together. But like I say, I didn't know until we did the counseling for him and his wife. When he found his wife, that's when I dove into some questions, and we like, man, we family.
And so I saw that DJ Focus. I saw that you grew up in East Cleveland, man.
Yes, sir. Don't play with me.
What
Toby say? Try Jesus.
Don't try me.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So, man, if you look at the state of where East Cleveland is now and being like positive, the way your music is, and you brought up something earlier, which I'm a firm believer in that too. What you put in you is what's going to come out of you. So I don't listen to like rap. Like I'll listen to certain rap, but if it's like hardcore, all that, that's just not me, because I believe, you get that in your ear so much. If you're not mentally right up here, you'll start believing that and you'll start acting that out. But in a way, if you think about it, people that are on the radio, they're in somewhat community leaders, because a lot of kids listen to the radio. A lot of kids listen to the music. How do you feel like what you're doing is affecting like your community where you come from? And how did you when you got into this, was it ever a time where you thought, I want to do something that I can help my community too?
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually was helping more than I am now. We actually, I attend the Word Church, and we actually had a location right in East Cleveland, right inside my old high school, Shaw High School. So I was having a great impact, not only on the church members that were coming, but also within the community, because we did outreach events. I was able to rekindle and reconnect with a lot of old high school people I went to high school with, and just, share my heart. They know where I come from. They know everything I struggle with. They know I used to run the streets, used to be a fool. So for them to see my transformation, it helped. And I still stay in contact with them. But I think for East Cleveland, man, let me tell you something, man. It's more than just a spiritual battle. We have to get people in place that are going to do right about building back up East Cleveland. East Cleveland needs to be built back up, and it's going to take more than just spiritual or, somebody, coming in and showing people. They need a lot of resources. Like it's a lot of parts to go with East Cleveland. We talk about it on the show a lot, and how until we can get businesses down there that want to invest and build back up, because that's what it really boils down to. There's no businesses there besides like local corner stores that are not really bringing any revenue. We know the housing situation in East Cleveland is terrible. So there's nobody buying property there. So it's just a lot of parts to go with that. But yeah, I try to do as much as I can. I definitely, we myself and Suave, we make mixtapes. We go down there when we can to share the word. We've given out clothes. We've given out food. We've done all that. But I think now they need some money in East Cleveland. That's what it really boils down to. East Cleveland needs some money for it to be rebuilt and for it to make sense. And I think we have some people in place in the city hall, East Cleveland City Hall, that are doing the right things. But I think we still got some, in my opinion, that are not doing all that they can. And that's always been a problem too, as well, with unfortunately some of the past people who have been in the city hall. The mayors and, council, they ain't been doing right by the money that they have been getting. So,
Yeah, man.
Bryce, I see you grinning over there. Go ahead, take off.
Look, we ain't gonna say no names, but
yeah, I didn't want to either. I'm sorry. Because don't get it twisted. I know the names too.
Right. You know the names, but it's funny. We had a good friend of mine. I don't know if you ever heard of the foundation Noah. It's headed by a good friend of mine by the name of Travell Hart. And he's doing some great work down there, but at the same time, it's like he can't do it all by himself. I too, both sets of my grandparents lived there. So I grew up in and around there, although I didn't technically live there. I was there pretty much every other day of the week during my childhood, spent my summers there. So I remember what it was. My father and my grandparents remember what it really was, and to see what it has become. Look, man, they turned a desert into Las Vegas. They turned a barren coast into South Beach. So East Cleveland is only 3 square miles. It's not that big.
Literally.
And when men come together and want to build something, that's exactly what they do. So we know that the state of East Cleveland it could be a lot better than what it really was, because we already knew what it was. But speaking of building, I wanted to tap into the Fixx, because there's not many teams like you all. And specifically when it comes to having 2 male hosts and a female host, I wanted to know what Tiara, that you feel that she brings to the table to help balance things out. Like, one of my favorite radio shows to watch is The Breakfast Club, and they got Envy, Charlamagne the God. And I love the show because of the guests, right? They bring on some amazing guests. But I feel like Yee is the one that kind of balances them out. Like, you got Charlamagne acting a fool over here. You got Envy being super chill, but Yee is like that balance between the two. And so I wanted to know what Tiara brings to the Fixx that you feel is valuable.
With us, it's basically the same. It's just in a different construct. I say that because when we discuss a lot of stuff, we discuss it from a biblical and theological construct. Me, who grew up Muslim, now Christian, I look at things differently than Focus would, and than what Tiara would. But I'm also a theology student. So, like, in seminary, I learn stuff differently than how they would interpret it now. So granted that we're all Christians, so when we discussing certain things, Focus still has this old school type of thinking. When he mentions certain things, like, he may be very passionate about it, but I have him open his eyes because of the interpretation is
facts. Right.
Is different. Yeah. So I will look at things differently, like, no, we got to look at it this way compared to this way. And Tiara is one of those, let's meet in the middle type of person. She's one of those, let's meet in the middle, and she will actually address certain things that we probably won't like to touch on because of our male egos. And I'll put it out there, like, our male egos will sometimes take over the show, and she'll the one that will bring it back. Like, nah, like, but what about this type of feel? So yeah, she creates that balance that we don't have.
And the beautiful thing about it is a perfect balance, because if you ever listen to one of our shows, you get 3 different perspectives, but it's all still the same. I know that doesn't make sense, but if you listen to the show, by the end of the show, you'll know what we're talking about, because it's like we give people different ways of looking at whatever the topic is we're talking about, because that's the thing that doesn't happen enough. And the thing about us, absolutely, when you listen to our shows, we disagree. Yeah. Most shows, everybody is on the same wave. You know what I'm saying? They already got, their mindset that they're going to attack give these are questions that are going to attack the interviewee rather, or, we're going to be on this side with them one way or another. But yeah, we keep it honest. We're going to talk about the good and the bad on both sides.
Me and Willie don't agree on nothing, so.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Trust and believe that.
Okay. But yeah, we're a rarity. We're a rarity, I'm telling you.
Man, it's funny because, and I'm with you, Rico, a lot of people are passionate about the Bible, but there's a historical fact to the Bible that you can really break down. And I wouldn't consider myself a theologian, but I study history and I study facts. I study time periods. I study what was going on in that specific part of the world at that time. And I sort of compare it to how we're interpreting things that apply to our culture today. Me and Willie talk about this all the time. So I'm pretty much with you, like, nah, well, that really don't mean that. It's like, I'll tell you this, the one thing I hate is when people pick and choose which parts of the scripture that they want to adhere to.
Oh yes,
That
We do too.
irritates
We
me.
do too.
It's like, yeah, well, you know the words say this and this is like, yeah, it also says this. Like, did you forget about that part? Like, read the two.
That don't support my
verses
argument
before.
right now, so that's not important. That's what it is.
But look, it ties in perfectly, because I think what you all are doing is great. To this generation of pop music and hip hop music where the message isn't as positive. One of the things I would like to know from your standpoint, since you all have been doing this for 6 years, what are some of the trends that you've seen over the past 6 years? And then what are the trends that you see that are about to come within the next 6 years?
Well, for me, I think that the one we always talk about on the show is the trend of regular mainstream or secular artists being more vocal about their faith. Our show was kind of built around that. If you notice, we call it faith-infused because we play Chance the Rapper on our show, which we know he's not a Christian hip hop artist. We have played Kanye West. Even before that, Slim Thug. A lot of people don't know. Slim Thug actually had a song with Joe Osteen on it. We played tracks like that because we wanted to
Bun
bridge.
B.
Yeah, Bun B has tracks with Christian hip hop artists, and we keep going on and on. And what we wanted to do was bridge that gap. We like, if we don't have these conversations with these artists and even know that they are spiritual beings, and that some of them are just, let's be honest, they come from nothing. They have a gift, millions of dollars on the table. For some of them, yeah, they were offered a contract. They got to, honor the contract. So I think for us, the trend, at least like I say, for me, one of the biggest things that our show is built around, allowing for these artists to have a place to where they can come and talk about their faith.
Man, you know what?
One thing I would say, the biggest thing about people not building relationships with people before judgment. We know we all hate that judgment word, but that judgment word is fine if you can build that barrier and build the relationship. For instance, you and Willie, y'all have a great relationship. So if you call Willie out on something, even though you might be judging him, so what, he's going to respect it because he know you coming from a place where it's in love. You trying to, make sure he's not doing nothing that's going to, make him not only mess himself up or his family up, but something he ain't got no business doing. Prime example. My cousin, he clearly, Suave, if he sees me out doing something, man, he gonna tell me, Focus, why you in that spot? You know you ain't supposed to be in that spot. Why are you doing this? You ain't supposed to be doing this. A lot of times with this internet-driven world, everybody's hiding behind, phones, technology, and giving their opinion when you don't even know what that brother going through. You don't even know where he's at in his spiritual walk right now while you dogging him, So for me, like I say, we wanted to create a place to where artists can come and share their faith. And let's talk about it. Because we don't agree with everybody, but we still want a place to where they can come, share their place. But we talked about it 6 years ago that more artists were going to come forth and really talk about their roots. You talk about Pharrell Williams with what he did with the Neptunes. Well, you see what he did with the Netflix special with the whole gospel choirs because he was a choir director. A lot of people don't know that. So, I can go on a tangent about that, but that was the basis. That was one of the biggest trends that we already knew was coming. And long and behold, look, we got Kanye doing gospel albums. We got Snoop Dogg doing gospel albums. Come on now.
Yeah, man. And I was just going to say, it's like your background, you understand that better than most, right? You understand where people look. Most of us grew up in the church, regardless of what we were doing outside the church. A lot of us grew up in the church. So
Facts.
We connect with that. But when you have lived on both sides, you can understand that person and why he would have chosen whatever path they chosen, but also why they come back.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So with that, the second part of that question is what trends do you see also coming now that you've been in this space for the past six years?
I'll let you can jump on that one, Suave.
Man. So based on, it actually won't be it's not a good thing either. So it's more so of the trend of because of social media, everything will now be like right in our face, whether it be whether it be the different LGBTQ, whether it be the politics, whether it be the revolution, which at one point the revolution wasn't supposed to be televised. It won't be televised, but the show will be on social media. But above all things, one trend that I see good coming out of all this is the importance of mental health. That is being addressed a lot, as we see now in the Olympics with Simone Biles. We see with Naomi Osaka. Mental health is very important, especially for African Americans. And now that we are taking our health serious, that is a trend that I'm very happy that that's coming about. But I know more athletes will actually take part in this, but more African Americans will see the importance of it because of social media.
So I'm gonna jump on that because that's like that was one of the first topics we talked about. That's one of my passions is mental health. Definitely being African American and mental health, because we're all men. We know how we were when we were younger. We were taught to brush it off. We'll deal with it later, and eventually over time, if you don't deal with that you were supposed to deal with 5 years ago later, it's going to come out like a mighty Russian wind and it's not going to be good for you. So I had a question, but you brought that up. So I have to, just by you guys being radio hosts, I just need to know, because I called this before it happened. I said eventually they're going to start picking and choosing when they want to encourage people for coming out about mental health. Yeah. Simone backed out the Olympics. I said if it was not the Olympics, if it wasn't for a gold medal, if it was just a warm-up or whatever it was, and she said I can't do this because of mental health, they would have been praising her. She's so brave. But because, and it's just my opinion, because it was the Olympics, I feel like it was a lot of people trashing her. It was a lot of people supporting her, but also was a lot of people like, yo, you running from adversity. First off, look at the facts. She was part of one of the biggest scandals in college. Like Michigan, she was a victim at Michigan State when that came out. Like, so you can't tell me she can't overcome adversity. So right. I just want to know, like, just because you guys are hosts, I feel like I have to get your take on that. Like, how did that make you feel when she did that and the reaction was just up and down, but a lot of people just was like not for it? And I'm sitting back there like, wait a minute, I thought we was for mental health now. Like, what is it? Is it only when it's benefiting towards like you guys making a spotlight? Like, when is it?
To be honest, like I'm gonna most definitely address it because I'm the huge advocate for mental health on our show. It's not just because it's the Olympics. I'm gonna be straightforward about it. It's because she's African American, and she was on the stage, basically a whitewashed stage. That's the primary reason, because they attacked Naomi Osaka about it, but they praised Kevin Love about it. Kevin Love is a white male. Like, oh, males don't talk about it, but he's a white male, and y'all was, oh, thank God he did it. We need more athletes to do it. And as soon as some more athletes started doing it, like, no, we don't need the black folks to do it. No, not y'all. We want the other people to do it.
Isn't it funny how DeMar DeRozan do it too, but nobody brings him up when
nobody
they bring in the NBA? Everybody brings up Kevin Love.
And the crazy part is, like, if you was to go to Kevin Love's website, you don't see that many African Americans, except DeMar DeRozan. You'll probably see LeBron James once or twice. Like, it's more people than Kevin Love. But what it is like Kevin Love will overshadow them because he got the news coverage for it. DeMar DeRozan did. Osaka got news coverage for it. Biles did it on the big stage. So they looking at him now like, oh, y'all doing it now on the big stage. And that's the point where it come in like, now it's affecting us. Like, technically, no, like she not leaving just for mental health. Like, she's leaving because y'all want to treat her unjust because she's so talented. Now you want to create a Simone Biles rule and create this asterisk that you won't give her full credit because she can do stuff that other athletes can't do. That's not fair. So yeah, I'm gonna take my rest for my Olympics because what's the point? I'm not gonna get judged fairly. There's no need for me to be here. So instead of me stressing myself out, causing more problems because now I'm not gonna get my full in the Olympics. Why not just leave? And that's what a lot of people are not understanding. And I cannot wait until more athletes start doing it, especially NBA players. When NBA and NFL players start doing it more because they're the more role model athletes, the ones that make the most money. When they start doing it and these owners start to lose money and see how important it is for players' mental health, like how important it is, especially with NFL players who not only have to worry about mental health, but the physical health and brain damage. Like it's a lot that they go through. When they start taking the center stage for it, then they'll see how serious it is for our community. Period.
Yeah, and I just tip my hat to everybody, Simone, everybody who speaks up about going through any type of mental health issue and just really taking care of yourself, because that's what we call it. It really is self-care, making sure you take care of yourself. So yes, everything Suave said I agree with, but I tip my hat to her when she did it. To me, I don't think she had anything else to prove anyway. I'm just
absolutely not.
Right.
Like Suave said, like she'd already had moves that no one else could do. They were not giving her the credit that she should get from the scoring card on it. The last move that she did when she finally walked away, she was trying to do a new move that she had been doing and working on, but she was like, I don't want to hurt myself out there, just trying to show off. So it's like she ain't got nothing else to prove. So, but yeah, I think more entertainers, athletes, they all need to get the help that they need. So for anybody listening to this show, get the help you need, because it's so valuable. It's so much stress, so much pressure on those entertainers, on those athletes. And we see all the glitz and the glam, but like me and Suave know, they get home, they get in dark places. Some of them, hide behind drinking and smoking and drugs and stuff instead of getting the real help that they need. So I pray that everybody who struggles with any form of mental health get the help that they need.
So this is I love to close out with this question. Started this question, I think the first person I asked was Jalife. We interviewed him. So I love just to hear the answers, and you both can answer it. Knowing what you guys know now, if you can go back in time to your younger selves and give you guys any advice, what would it be?
Go to school, dummy. So you have to realize that I don't mind sharing this, but I walked away from multiple football scholarships because, unfortunately, I was a product of my environment. I still hold myself accountable because I could have chose to do something different, but I was a product of my environment and heavily influenced by rap music. For me, it was controlling me. Like I say, it might not control anybody else. And I had a little stint where I chose, unfortunately, to live the street life and get money in the streets. And I walked away from a football scholarship. So I always wonder where would I be right now if I would have went to school and took advantage of that scholarship, and who knows what would have happened. So yeah, that's what I would have told my younger self. Go to school, dummy.
Mine will be invest. And invest wisely at that. And I'm not talking just money. Growing up, I have a mental illness. So growing up, I had a lot of issues dealing with certain things. So mentally invest, get help, make sure I take care of myself mentally and physically. Invest financially so I would be in a better place. Because I knew, college debt got me. I owe a lot in student loans, so I'm trying to pay that back. At the same time, I will most definitely invest emotionally. And I say that because me dealing with certain things or not dealing with certain things caused me to take myself out of situations emotionally. So by me doing that, I walked around haphazardly, causing issues, and in a sense, I made the Rico Suave name different. It wasn't just about how I dressed. It was me. It was how I acted. I was a womanizer, so I would have different girls every day. And when I got into a serious relationship, it was a serious relationship when I was with her. But once I walk out of that house or wait out of her presence, I was with a different female. So I took myself out of situations emotionally because of how I was treated once before. So if I would have invested in myself emotionally in every relationship I had, so investing relationally, I would actually be a better friend, a better person, a better man. And in a sense, I will be a better father than what I am now. I mean, my kids say I'm pretty good, but I'll be a better father because I will be able to pour into them more because I was A-okay.
Man, DJ Focus, Rico Suave, the Fixx Radio Show. Hey, tell the audience where they can find y'all and how they can tune in.
Man, you can follow the radio show, man, at the Fixx_radio on IG, at the Fixx Radio Show on Facebook, Twitter. Definitely we're available on all streaming podcast platforms. You can listen
anywhere
to
you
us.
pull up a podcast, anywhere you can pull up a radio show. Yes, you can listen to it.
We there. And we live on the radio every Saturdays, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Power 89.1 FM WZNZ. So yeah, tap in.
And that's DAFIXX. It's 2 X's.
Yeah, it's a little hip hop. It's the Fixx. for my OGs out there.